Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this edition of The Issues. My special guest this week is a very, very special lady. She is an academic, a researcher and an author. She has written a book, co-written a book on Islamic Microfinance entitled Integral Finance. I've got to get this right. Akhuwat, I'm sure you'll correct me later on. Akhuwat as a case study of the solidarity economy. It's a huge mouthful, but I'm sure he'll make it a lot easier for her later on. And her main area of expertise, as she would put it, is a focus on regenerating societies and communities, which covers community development, economics, management, and her speciality, as she says, is layering it with spirituality. How wonderful. Dr Aneeqa Malik, welcome to The Issues.
Assalamu alaikum, Harry. Thank you so much for having me here.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you for sparing the time.
What a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for sparing the time to be with us today.
I'm not too sure. Whatever you've said about me is me. I'm thinking, is it me? Okay,
well, I'm sure we'll find out whether it is you. Now, I'm trying to pronounce that word, Akhuwat. Is that right?
Yes, yes. So it's coming from Akhuwat as in brotherhood. Akhi is the Arabic word. Yeah. So it's about brotherhood.
And the word and the core word that we're looking at within that is the microfinance or Islamic microfinance.
Yes.
In a layman's term, Aneeqa, tell us what microfinance is, Islamic microfinance is.
Okay. Interesting question, because I'm more towards the solidarity economy. What Akhuwat is doing is the world understands microfinance, which is not an Islamic per se term. Mm-hmm. Microfinance is a concept coming from the West, which was basically how can we all mobilize communities through the resources we already have. And micro meaning small loans. So it was basically microcredit. So in Europe, as you know, there were cooperatives, there are still cooperatives. And it started with microcredit. How can we give small loans to mobilize, those in need and poor people, especially in the rural area. So it started from there.
What are the practical aspects of microfinance?
So you would know that it's basically about those people who can't bank, who are unbankable. So I'm sure you know, or I don't know if you know, that in Bangladesh, Dr. Muhammad Yunus was the person who started Grameen Bank, which he called was the bank for the poor. Because, the poor do not have collateral. So the banks won't give them loans. That was the concept, that they have skills, they want to start it. They already have their micro entrepreneurs. But if they're in need of more capital and finance, who do they turn to? And there were loan sharks who were taking advantage of this. So he started something which he called a bank for the poor. Now, coming to Akhuwat or Islamic microfinance, Akhuwat is a totally different concept. And this is why I've actually written a book on it, because I was so fascinated by... So you were saying, what is societal regeneration or community regeneration?
Yeah.
So this is how you regenerate what is already there. So I'll come to Akhuwat. What they did was... So Dr. Amjad Saqib, who's the founder of Akhuwat Foundation in Pakistan, and his team, his colleagues, his friends. So he shared an idea that yes, if we give loans, small loans, but we still charge interest, that's not helping the micro entrepreneur because they still have to pay interest on top of this loan. So in Islamic terms, in an Islamic society, we have 4 streams of philanthropy or charity running, which is zakat, is sadaqah jariyah, and there's another thing which is karde hasan. So Quran talks about karde hasan. So it's basically a benevolent loan. So if you have, and the concept is, it's about the Islamic concept is that the redistribution of wealth should be fair and equitable in a society or community. So if you have enough, it's about the haves should help the have-nots.
But
Return.
that injustice exists wherever in the world. You know, the have and the have-nots. The have-nots never want to help the have. The haves have never wanted to help the have-nots. They're quite happy. It's always the ones that are in between somewhere that are always looking at the have-nots, and they care about the have-nots. And I think that's where most of this work comes in. Because the have-nots are out flying in the air somewhere, they don't want to know about people on the ground and how they suffer. Is that right?
I would disagree.
Would you?
No. I think the balance. So that is why I call myself an economic mystic, because the thing is that the universe has a way of balancing things out. And people who have, not everybody they don't care about the world. I would disagree. And Akhuwat has actually shown this as a prime example that in a country like Pakistan, where there was a lot of need to build the nation, build the country, there are people who come forward and they've helped the community. They've helped those who are in need. Especially in Pakistan, you would see a lot of organizations, hospitals, universities have been built by those haves who have actually contributed to the nation by sharing their wealth.
Well, I've got some figures.
In the other side, the Western, maybe we call it the CSR. It's known as CSR, that it's our social responsibility.
What's CSR? What is CSR?
Big companies would allocate some amount to CSR, as in they help social responsibility.
Okay.
So they always corporate social responsibility basically is CSR.
Well, it's a brilliant idea, this Akhuwat, right? And I've got some figures, some statistics here in front of me, which is from starting capital of a few thousand rupees. Over the past 19 years, Akhuwat has dispersed 120 billion rupees in loans, which is phenomenal growth in this area, helping over 4.2 million people and families. Now, the average person in Pakistan, how can they access this wonderful structure that is there? But I'm sure that not many people are aware of it, and how that's where we'd like to, through this program, hopefully bring awareness to millions or more people. And so, how do they go about accessing this Islamic finance, if you like, microfinance?
I would say that people do know about Akhuwat, not just in Pakistan, the world over, because it's been about, I think, 20 years. It keeps growing as well, but they do have about 400 and plus offices in Pakistan, branches in Pakistan, where people can just walk in and get information. And this is, bearing in mind, this is for micro entrepreneurs, those very poor people, poor of the poor, who would say, for example...
With all due respect, Dr. Aneeqa, it's the poor that do not have the facilities to be able to access where it belongs. They can't walk into something, they don't know, they can't read. Let's say, for example, they can't read, they don't have IT, and yet that's where we need to target this. These are the people that really need to know about Akhuwat, and how do we get that word out to them? That is a challenge that I'm trying to put to you here.
Yes. Okay. Good question. The thing is that why do I call Akhuwat so phenomenal, and why was I so fascinated and impressed, was the reason. I walked into their office, and even the CEO, the founder, everybody sits on the floor. Their offices are purposely built or done in a way that, it's so welcoming. It's about the sunnah of, it's sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ used to sit on the floor. So all the business is done. And also it's sort of, it shows that you're grounded as well. So it's for poor people. So Dr. Amjad Saqib always says, and the reason they call it Akhuwat is about brotherhood with the poor people. So they feel like they belong to you. They are part of the family. So they when I say walk in, okay, so the way they do it is also very interesting, is that they hold, remember that I say that my expertise is in community mobilization. So you don't start with just the money or the funds. You actually firstly have to mobilize community. The community has to understand that it's not always the community would know what is lacking. So there would be those people who would be there to help the community and mobilize them and make them understand that this is how you can help yourself. So they would hold gatherings or majlis is not the right word. It's like, gathering in mosques. This is where they started from. Okay. So what they do is, that they started using mosque spaces as the community hubs as well, because after prayer, they would hold like circles with people, and they would tell them, this is how we can help you. So it's not just about the money. So making them part of the development as well, how you can also help yourself. And once you help yourself, how can you help others? So this is how they educate those masses who they are not finance literate. They don't understand how finances work.
Okay.
So that was amazing.
Thank you for that. I mean, briefly, let me just tell everybody about Aneeqa. I think you were born in Pakistan, in Lahore. You grew up in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and now you're settled in London. Now, reading up a little bit about you, you said that you found your spirituality in a non-Islamic country. Tell us about it. How do you square that circle?
Interesting. Okay, so I think I would say I'm blessed, alhamdulillah, and I've seen best of all the worlds. So growing up in Pakistan meant like I'm very, very culturally grounded in my own culture, in my own roots. And then growing up in Saudi Arabia also helped me to be grounded in my religion as well, to understand especially the rituals, the practices. So in my formative years, I was there, which meant it helped me what religion is about, Hajj, Umrah, Namaz.
What about the restrictions on females, on ladies that exist within Saudi Arabia? How did you manage to cope with that?
Oh, many people now ask me this question, and I would say, I was so busy growing up. I was young, I don't know. It was school friends and all that. So
you just accept it as a norm then?
I'm not too sure. But around that time, it was okay. It worked for me because we were just, busy in our studies. And it was a nice environment, I must say.
Okay.
But in Riyadh, of course, it was strict. And then finding my spirituality in a non-Islamic or secular society, I think was about, also I was coming of age as well, maybe. It was about, I found myself, how you slowly evolve and the unfoldment happened. And yes, in a society like UK, it really, it does help me.
Well, talking about you, come back to the UK.
As in to find myself, right. My voice.
Coming back to the UK, I've got a question on the UK for you here. In the UK's Pakistani diaspora context, what is lacking development-wise, and what has been achieved, do you think?
It's quite a broad question, but
give me a narrow answer on it.
Sorry?
You can give me it's a broad question, but I'll have a narrow answer, please.
Okay, so I've spent about more than 10 years now being an active part of my diaspora community, and not just the Pakistani community, other migrant diaspora communities as well. And I think UK, we are still in a good space in UK that, we are sort of, loved in a way. It's a very good country to be in. Now, for diaspora, I think there is a need. Lacking is, as you know, of course, it's unity quite often about. It's about, everybody wants to achieve something, but they don't know what they want to achieve, right? But we have played our role. I mean, and we've given the UK halal butchers.
Okay, no, we are quite blessed here. I think,
so we've filled a gap here.
Yeah.
And now for the third and fourth generation, I think, of the migrant or diaspora generation, first generation, I think they are sort of now well integrated in the society. But the diaspora still needs to sort of find what they want to do. And what is lacking, as I said, is so many people are doing so much work. I mean, you are very actively involved as well. But we need to understand what exactly do we want to achieve.
Well,
in the enterprise sector or domain, and that is my area where I would say we still are far behind in starting our own projects, enterprises. And the reason I had to go back to Pakistan and write about Akhuwat was the reason that I wanted to see if it's religious beliefs and, is it the lack of that which is holding us back? Mm-hmm. Because, when you are in a non-Muslim or secular society, you do feel insecure about your religion or faith, and you have to protect it. So we've done, most of the work is done around that. I think that has been done now. So now is the good time that we are in a good space. We can now understand there are Islamic finance models, halal economy is a big thing in the UK.
Let me ask you a quick question, Aneeqa, before we go into the break. What is your views on cryptocurrency and the Islamic view on them, do you think?
Oh, that is a very interesting. I'm not an expert of
in that
crypto,
case,
but what I can say is...
Yeah,
sorry?
go on.
So I'm still in the physical kind of community world where I feel like communities can start their own funds. That was the reason I had to study Akhuwat, that how can a community or a group can start their own community fund, which could be used on the community development. So for the crypto and fintech is a very good solution for Islamic finance, and a lot of work is being done.
But do you think, Islamically speaking, cryptocurrency, do the two work together, do you think?
Yes, of course, they can. You see, the only issue is when you talk about finances, there is also always about who's holding that, who has the control over that money. With fintech and crypto, I think it's very democratic as well.
Well, can I just have you ever seen the news about this guy who lost £175 million because he's forgotten the password?
Well, you see, the thing is, I would say we are all still learning. This is the thing about technology. And this is why I am a firm believer on spirituality and mysticism and mystic, because there is still something out there which is telling us that we can never be perfect in everything, right? So we're just learning. We are in that phase. We will keep on learning. So you can't then blame it on anything, really.
Thank you very much. And we're going to take a short break, Aneeqa, and after a few minutes, we'll be right back.
Sure.
Thank you.
See you.
The issues of Kashmir have been eluding the world for a long time. I'm going to be bringing it out from the shadows. Why is the world ignoring Kashmir? And will the world continue to turn its back on two warring nations, both of which have nuclear capacity? And why hasn't the UN implemented its own resolution policy? And will it? And for all these questions, we will be digging for the answers to these tough questions. Please stay tuned for my new program, exclusive on Kashmir, The Pulse with Kirsten Seymour. Watch for it.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to The Issues with me, Harry Boota. My special guest today is Dr Aneeqa Malik, and we're talking about Islamic microfinance, which it's a very interesting subject, and I don't think many people know about this core, wonderful thing that exists for very poor families, especially in Pakistan, to access finance where it will not be available for them. Dr Aneeqa Malik, welcome back to The Issues. We're talking about the communities and community developments earlier on. I think you want to elaborate on that a little bit more, because I think that's where your passion is. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Especially the UK.
Yes, as we were discussing that our community, when I say our, it's about the Pakistani diaspora community. And what is interesting, I think, after writing my book is that, and I've been propagating as well, is that we can start our own community funds and invest in our own community, because there is a disconnect from the mainstream. I'm not going into the reasons of why that is there and integration or whatever. What I'm saying is we have to take control, we have to take charge.
How do you go about doing that? How would you start, how do you start doing that, taking charge? You need a leader. You need leadership.
I meant to say taking charge as in personally and individually.
Okay.
But yes, so there is a need that we identify what exactly is the need of the community, right? So we can start by having focus groups, coming together. It's always about one shared purpose rather than just working on so many things. And mostly I've seen most groups in the UK are still very, very connected to working back home or Pakistan. But now the need is that we also see how we can find our own solutions. We have to find our own solutions. So, I think, remember, I started something, bringing some people together. I think it's all about having those like-minded people, having a focused discussion on what exactly, if you have a project, and you need those people because we have to understand, we have to create an ecosystem where we can help one project, say, for example. And this is also an example for Akhuwat kind of finance, that we also can pull in our own resources and fund our projects rather than always waiting for where the funds are coming from.
Do you think the Islamic mortgages, just traditional mortgages dressed up as being Islamic, or are there key differentiators between the two?
Wow, it's quite a controversial question.
Well, we want a controversial answer as well, please, Aneeqa,
Yeah, it is. In the conventional guise, it's called Islamic mortgage, right? Again, I'm not an expert on Islamic mortgage because, I'm more into community financing.
From your spirituality point, from your education, from your research, I want you to be able to give this answer, be it controversial as it may be, but give us your own gut feelings as to what the question asking. Are they dressed up as Islamic mortgages? Or
yes, they are.
So,
I mean, we are, again, you see, you need to understand that Islamic finance is a new phenomenon. It's not that old. Islamic economics, yes, right? This is why I bring in spirituality or philosophy of Islamic economics. That if we understand the philosophy first and the maqasid, which is the purpose of Islamic economics, is basically what? You don't charge interest. You are not unfair to anyone. It's about social justice. This is community welfare, well-being. It starts from there. The thing is that with Islamic finance, we kind of have made it a bit complicated for the layman or common person to understand the jargons and the technical terms. But they are trying to find. I would
Aneeqa,
actually appreciate what they're trying to
Aneeqa, but you know,
do.
when you mention Islamic and finance and money, and then you say no interest, right? Money does not grow without interest. Okay, you know, the money grows out of nothing. You know, the banks they make money out of nothing. The chancellor of the exchequer will say, well, I've just put £60 billion into the economy, and I've just created it out of nothing. But they seem to think so. But when we talk about Islamic finance, and we talk about halal finance, and then we talk about interest, now, is it just a kind of a play on words, or is it genuinely we don't charge, we can't charge interest, but the money doesn't grow? It doesn't
Right.
grow.
Okay, so there are two different things. We were discussing Akhuwat model, Karte Hassan, which is totally interest-free, right?
That's a different thing. We are talking about general finance now in economies in the world, around the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from Islamic finance perspective, when we say interest-free, riba is haram, which means you are not supposed to make money out of money, right? It's about you and I need to go into partnership, and it's about profit and loss partnership. So I lend you money, you do business with that, you pay me that money, and it's not about okay. So the way interest works, you understand how interest works, right? Mm-hmm. There is a lot of assumption which Islam prohibits, because you see, this is where the Islamic economics is coming in, or the spirituality, because we become greedy.
But but that's the last word. Nobody cares about that side. All they want to do is to make their money grow. That is always the case. You know, I put money in.
And this is what Islam
to grow.
prohibits. Islam is not against not making money. It's about making the ethical and Sharia compliant is that you are not unfair to the other person, right? Mm-hmm. So this is why we have to instill those values first, to then go on to Islamic finance. Islamic finance is the products and tools which they are developing, and they're also learning along the way that how can we make it Sharia compliant. It's a difficult one, especially if you're living in a secular or non-Muslim society, but they are developing new things. So people firstly need to understand why this is prohibited. Because
even Islamic,
I focus on the person or the individual, that I think the fault lies with the individual, mm-hmm. because the principles are there, the philosophy is there, but who actually understands that? Because everybody in a hurry to make money from nowhere, out of nowhere.
Exactly, that is, and we've got this major problem with the youth nowadays. I know the area that I live in, Yorkshire, we've got a huge problem on how to make money quickly, especially with the youth, and they turn to what's available, which is drugs normally, you know, and that is totally against.
So I think I would actually, we would have to look at the education system here. I won't blame the youth here, because it's the broken system we have given them already. And how is education
how can you? I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. This, education. I came here as a quite illiterate young lad. Okay, it's moral values that's lacking in society, not education. I think, your parents cannot part moral values to you. The kids go out and they, rob cars, they sell drugs, and the next thing you know, the car is parked beside the parents' house. Brand new BMW or whatever. Wow, my son is doing great. Okay, fantastic. No questions asked. This is the problem. This is the core problem that we have, don't you think? Not education.
Yes. So education itself is a very broad term. And when we normally just narrow it down to schools and colleges, that's not education.
Education starts at home. Education is home. First starts at home with your parents.
With parents, with family, with community, with society, it's with everywhere. We keep on educating and learning all our lives. Do you think my college or uni degree is helping me in any way, the person I am today? No, it's not. Because I actually found my own self.
Yeah,
so it's about morality. You said, you came here illiterate, but you had some values. You see, the thing is, I'm sorry to say this, but religion or moral values have never helped people.
No, I'm sorry, but I think unless you've got a moral base, you cannot go in society and do good things unless you've got a moral baseline to stand on.
Yes.
And I think that's what's totally been destroyed, and it doesn't exist in societies in the West nowadays. And even in our countries, I think it's now hit rock bottom as well. It's in the coup, I think, that's what the word is. The well. Now, I want to ask you a quick...
exactly. That's why, because parents have been busy. They have been busy.
What?
Did they pay attention to their youth? Did they build that moral base for the youth? No, we didn't. We were busy making money.
And there lies the big problems, because you can either make money or you can turn a blind eye onto the moral values of. Let's do a quick question on charities. Do you think they're ethical? What's the are they as ethical as they make out, charities? Because especially, I don't know what it's like in the global sense of charities, what their underlying rules are, but especially in the UK, a charity, you can form a charity. Somebody gives you £1, you can take 80 pence and put it in your pocket. Expensive, of course, not just like that. And then give away 20 pence. You're allowed to give 20% to charity. Now, where do you find the ethics in charities? Are they ethical?
You're asking me all the controversial questions.
I want some controversial answers from you, Aneeqa. Otherwise, you're going to stay there all day.
So why do you think I'm writing about an organization like Akhuwat?
Okay.
And I think I haven't broken it down for everybody to understand why I'm saying this. They are not a charity, right? Why am I saying that community groups have to come together and have to become their own financiers? We have to, have community funds. So charity, for me, I don't sort of operate in that sector.
No, I'm not.
And I can understand where you're coming from.
I'm asking you from an ethical and moral and spiritual point of view, which, you love your spirituality, and I think we all should have spirituality within us. But, the question I put was that, if somebody gives you £1 for charity, the person who's giving you £1 for charity does not realize that only 20% of what they've given is going to go to charity, if that, and the rest is going to go into the people who are putting their hands out in their own pockets. That's the ethics and morals I'm talking to you about. What's your views on that?
I get you. I understand what you're saying, but then we can't dismiss or disregard good charities, because we do need those people who are working selflessly. There are many, right? So there are always going to be bad examples. in any
I'm
business,
sorry, I
any
have to
scenario.
totally disagree with you that it's going to be all bad examples. Every single one, I can put it down to a bad example. Every charity has the same ethical, moral values that I am telling you about. Even, let's give you Islamic fundraising. Let's get, all these Muslim charities that have fundraising everywhere. You have hundreds of people all lined up everywhere giving free dinners, etc., etc. And you'll have a guy standing on the podium, trying to persuade you to put your money in your hands in your pockets, and he is getting paid a huge amount of money just to do that for charity. How do you work that out?
I said that, Harry. I'm actually with you on that. I totally agree with you. This is why I'm saying that communities have to take responsibility themselves. We leave our work to others to do, right? If you come together as a group and you know that there would be expenses, everything has to be, there would be expenses.
Yes,
there
absolutely.
would be admin. A person who's running a charity needs to be, unless you start a charity as a business, then I can't stop you. You and I can't stop them. But we need to find a solution. See, the thing is, you asked me what is the issue with the diaspora, or what is lacking is that we discuss problems too many times. We don't find solutions. We come together, we sit together, everybody is so annoyed at the other person. Problems, right? We need to now come together with a clear heart and find solutions together.
Well, I hope that through your work, we will find a lot of solutions. We're coming to the end.
But I alone cannot find
No, but you are.
unless we all come together.
I think I started off by saying your main expertise is focused on regenerating societies and communities, and I want you to be regenerating societies and communities. So you're not on your own, but you have the tools and the knowledge to be able to mobilize these things.
So regeneration basically is about what was there is now missing. So we have to find that and regenerate it in a way that it's now in the current context, because you can't bring old values back and say this is how we have to live. We can't do that. Regeneration is how do we regenerate it? So in
are you
the
doing
current
a course
scenario,
have you designed a course? Are you designing a course on this kind of thing where people can get involved as well? Have you got a microfinance course that's going on, do you think?
Yes, so I have partnered up with an online digital platform, a digital platform for Islamic finance, and I'm developing a community financing course with them, which is of course called Islamic Microfinance. But this is basically about how, firstly, we need to understand what is a community, what is your community, what is the context of your community, and then go to finance. We start with the finance, which is the wrong approach. This is where things go wrong. So first we need to come together and understand what is community, what is needed, what do we need to do, not about how do I get paid and where are the finances. That's the wrong start.
I think people, I always say that someone who is worried about where his next meal is going to come from, he doesn't give a hoot about anything else except where the next roti is
also
going to come from. When our plate is full and we have comforts of everything around, then we can start to help communities. But when you got poverty at the level that we have in Pakistan, you've got very few people. There's so much controversy with the politicians and even the army, etc. They're funneling money out of Pakistan on a colossal scale. When you got problems like that, how can the poor trying to get up and do all the things
that's all around the world, Harry? I would say.
Well, we're only concerned about us.
Look here, what's happening in the UK? You see, so we can't just blame few people there. As I said, that Allah has a way. The universe works with human beings. This is where my solidarity comes in. That we have to understand that there are some things which are beyond our control, but the things which are in our control, we need to play our role fully. in a mystical way, understand that, like you said, that where is my next meal coming from? If I have full faith, my next meal is coming from Al-Razzaq. He is going to give me wherever I am, whatever I do or not. But do we do that? We've forgotten that.
Well, I think after people have seen this program, they will remember that. And thank you very much for all those wonderful words. Alhamdulillah. I think that's what we need to learn first.
It's a daily reminder. It's a daily reminder. We all have to give each other, ourselves first.
Final word. What would you like to say? What would you like the people to go away with from this program?
Well, as I just said, it's the daily reminder. It's not about one person or many people who are bad or good. It's a very interesting thing that I just said to you, that we forget. So we were sent on this earth with a purpose, with something which was already inside us, but we forget the lesson. So when we were when we were up there, we took a pledge with Allah and we said, yes, Alastu bi Rabbi, you are our God. And we all took that pledge, but we forget. We think that this is the world. We are going to live here forever, and that's it. We have to remember, what was that pledge? So we have to ask ourselves every day. And it's about tazkiyah nafs every day. How do you ask? I have to ask myself, where am I going wrong? And trust me, we all know.
Aneeqa, thank you very much indeed for taking part with us in this the program of the issues. It's been very interesting. Microfinance, Islamic, finance. A lot of people, I am as ignorant as a lot of people are about this thing, and I think hopefully through this program we will you address some of the issues, and people can go out and read about it and find out about it and get involved with microfinancing, especially with the Akhuwat side, where interest-free loans are available to small, if you're a small machinist, you want to buy a sewing machine in a village somewhere, you can access that, can't you? And then
yes.
They will, and how does it work? They will then earn from that and pay back what they've what they've borrowed. Is that right?
Monthly installments.
Yes,
okay. Monthly installments.
So hopefully, inshallah, it will help a lot of people. What you've just done today. And thank you very much indeed for joining me. And as I say every week, the world is full of issues, and as long as they're there, we'll be here. Allah Hafiz.